Why, hello, everybody. It's been a minute since I've recorded an episode, and I look forward to doing this one because it's it's a new GHB. It's also the first time I'm able to walk away from my kid, and basically work on this. And it's just an exciting time about the game right now, especially with the major changes how scoring happens and how the armies are going to play going forward. So I'm super excited to go, talk about this and go right into it. So today we're gonna mostly talk about my first. This is basically I'm reading these missions for the very first time in some cases, and just going through and just explaining what my thoughts are regarding how the game is going to play, and also we're going to talk about battle tactics into this episode at the end of it. For the most people in this, this is probably going to be roughly a long episode. I actually don't know how long this might take, but for the most part, it's going to be a fairly long episode. I will be posting more videos about talking about specific lists and specific armies and how they might operate in the GHB as I have time and also desire to do that. There's some days I rather just spend time with the kid, but today we're going to talk about the GHB, and I think it's important to start with the premise that and warning that while these are all going to be my opinions, and I've played very little of this new GHB, so this is all just theory crafting, and also for the most part, if I say something wrong and dumb, please don't flame me on it. Though I have a feeling that's probably going to happen. Okay, so we're going to right into the mission one. I would like to point out that one of the big changes from this GHB that I like, and most people never use this from the previous GHB, is that now the maps are inclusive of terrain, meaning that if you didn't know, all of the maps now have basically preset terrain for all the missions, which was the case last GHB2, but you had the option for most missions to actually change to a different terrain map from a different mission. Most people didn't even notice and didn't play with that at all. But it was an interesting mechanic that was kind of well thought out, mostly because the missions were all very similar, or at least I should say, let me correct that. The terrain maps that were shared across multiple missions is because those missions had the same amount of objectives or similar objective mechanisms. So the terrain never really, fought over, or it didn't really cause an issue, right? It was just basically a shift here and there. But on this GHB, since there is these custom objectives, effectively these pre-marked objectives, Oakenbrow, Gnawroot, and so forth, it will be hard to recreate that same mechanism, because you can tell in this GHB that they really thought about how they wanted terrain to impact the battle, and we'll go over that in a bit. So I think this is massive change, and I think it's a really good one. It might get a little bit repetitive, but as long as they're timely cadence on GHBs, and we're gonna have this until next year, I don't think it's gonna be a major problem. I do hope that the next GHB will keep up the same system, maybe a little bit more flexibility like from the previous GHB, but right now this is great. Okay, we're just jumping passing seasons. All right, so I'll read it out loud because even I, I've very little, played very little of it and haven't really done a very thorough thought process. So that's why I'm using this episode to do it. Twist. In Battle Round 2 and 4, if you're the underdog, you can use a Burgeoning Rejuvenation ability. In Battle Round 3 and 5, while you're the underdog, your army has a powerful Resurgence ability. Alright, so the first one is once per battle, start the Battle Round ability. Burgeoning Rejuvenation, pick one of the following. Heal D3 for every friendly unit contesting an Oakenbrow objective, which are the ones in your territories, in your opponent's territory. For the rest of the battle round, while an offending unit is contesting an Gnawroot, so this is the No Man's Land objectives. If it has a ward save, add one to the ward save roll for that unit. If it does not have a ward save, so 6+. That's actually a fairly massive ability. I can see that getting abused in some scenarios, especially armies with 5-up wards. Now, I don't know if the core rule doesn't let you modify a ward save by more than +1, because I think the Nurgle for Slaves of Darkness gives them also +1 to a maximum, and then this would effectively give them another +1 on top. So I don't know if that gives under Nurgle Slaves of Darkness unit potentially a 4-up ward. But even just having like imagine like a Praetor with like Krondis or Karazite contesting it, those Oakenrow objectives, and just basically sitting on a 4-up ward save. That's really annoying to remove, kill. Is it for both Naru? Yeah, it's both Naru, and it doesn't say you have to control the objective, it just says you have to contest it. Yeah, that's massive. That's a massive ability. I can see you being the underdog and this being very powerful. It's only for round 2 and 4. Now for round 3 and 5 you have Powerful Resurgence. You get +1 to rolls for combat attacks made by friendly units while they are contesting a non-rune objective. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, so I think this mission is going to really actually benefit our players who are really cunning about how they're going to want to score points early. And that plays into, obviously, the battle tactic change, which I haven't even talked about yet, but I will go when we get over the battle tactic changes. But, so having the ability to control how many points you score first. So, I mean, what I mean, is being bottom of the turn 1, right? It's knowing how many points you need to score to basically benefit from turn 2 burgeoning rejuvenation means you can basically position your units on if the no man's objective, kind of knowing that you're going to get this benefit, and you're playing into basically not taking a double. So that really is powerful, I think, for armies that go second. Now for armies that go on the top of the turn, I guess you just have to be either trying to score as few points as possible to just basically make your opponent's life a bit hard to score points. They would have to go really low to basically get the underdog mechanic. This is just going to be one of those armies. This is one of those games where basically, it's God. Yeah, I'm thinking about it right now. If you're top of turn, right? Since you're I should add, there's the way the victory points are counted for this mission is that battle round 1, 3, and 5, you score 5 victory for each no man's lands objective you have, Naru. In a battle round 2, 4, and 5, you score 5 for each home objectives you have. So in this mission, basically, even if you control the first objective, your home objective, you're not going to get any points for it. So it's just about taking the side objectives and not overscoring in battle tactic. Now, if you fear your opponent is basically going second and going for that play, being underdog on turn 1, you basically don't want to touch the side objectives, you not even get them, right? Because and focus on just scoring your battle tactic options, which would allow you to get max of 10 points. And if your opponent basically goes for the side objective, he has to go only for one side objective, which would give him 5 points, and he'll be underdog. But it means that he has one objective that he's not contesting. So if you retain Prio, you would be top of turn on turn 2 when they're underdog, and that would allow you to at least have an objective you can kind of freely get. Now the problem is on turn 2, only your home objectives are scored. Yeah, it's kind of a trick. I think if you're top of turn, you just have to accept the fact that you're going to be underdog turn 2. Sacrificing that many points early seems not a great idea. Yeah, I'm gonna have to spend a lot more time thinking about this mission. I'm already really digging this complexity. I think for a lot of players that might be really annoying level of complexity, but I really dig this. Now let's talk about terrain, for example, because there was a big change this GHB for this mission, and that terrain, the places of arcane power now no longer give +1 to cast. They potentially heal or do damage to everything within 6 of a place of arcane power. It's 2 wound heal and then 1 damage for everything. Or they can turn, for the rest of the game, a terrain feature or an objective that is, I believe, wholly within 12, or within 12 of that terrain feature, that our place arcane power, into an obscuring terrain feature. So it basically, turns off shooting, and then anything that was shooting is half range. I I have seen somebody who's been thinking about, or not seen, heard somebody who's been thinking about using it aggressively as well as defensively, where if you know your opponent's going to sit in terrain with shooting units, you basically make it obscuring, because now obscuring reduces their range by half, so they'd have to move out of it to potentially shoot. But I think that's a very hedge cage and very nuanced and niche. Most of the time, most people are going to be using him to make certain objectives obscuring. And this is one of the few missions, by the way, where that plays a huge role because of how the Places Arcane Powers are set up. You can effectively start the game on touching one, and that one has the ability to make one of those two objectives, either your home objective or the no man's one, that is the closest to you, because this is only 11 inches from your territory versus the other one is 15 inches. Just basically making it obscuring. And then your opponent has the same ability. I see one of these missions where basically by the end of like turn 2, potentially all objectives are obscuring by until the end of the game, which just basically neuters shooting armies. But to be honest, in shooting army matchups in this map, it seems likely that they're going to score no primaries for the first half of the game and then basically try to just win out in the second half. The problem is if they can't shoot anything, then they're probably going to, this is a terrible mission for them. I don't know. I like the mission. Good changes so far. Big fan. Now, let's see. For the next one. Path of the Fae. Alright, Twist. If you're the underdog, you must use the Spirit Path Open ability. Oh, you must use them. Not even a choice on this one. Both players can use the Stumbling 4th ability. Alright, what is the Spirit Path Open? Once per battle round, start of the battle round, pick 2 objectives to be the target. All units within 6 of any target objective must be removed from the battlefield by their commander. Those units are vanished. Then starting with you, players must take in turns. Wait, starting with you. Oh, okay, so this is resolved at the same time. Okay. When it's friendly vanish units hold even 6 of either target objectives and more than 3 inches of enemy units. How's that? Can you just permanently block your opponent? Yeah, I guess you can. If it's a different unit, you can. Okay, so you definitely can completely block an opponent's units off the targeted objective. Each model that must be set up. Must begin moved abilities in first movement phase of battle. Reserve as lost. Pick a friendly lost unit. Set up the target on the battlefield more than 9 inches from your unit. Holding 7. That's really interesting. This actually really kind of sucks for Giants player. It's just thinking out loud here, just because like you could basically, if you're the underdog against Giant, you're like, I'm picking that Giant, and I'm moving him. Like, I'm basically removing off the objective, and then I'm setting up a unit back on that objective that's preventing them from landing on that objective. So they have to go they have to place the Giant and the other objective because they go next on placement. But then you can go back and replace your units on the home objective you're trying to get anyway. And then if that Giant player had another Giant on that objective, it's yeeted back to the other one as well. I could see that being like a problem for Giants player. I think they can fit. Yeah, they should be able to fit 2 Giants base-wise, length-wise on an objective. Though there is a reality, there's a world where I wonder if it's possible to basically corner, like let's say you guys can see my mouse perfect. Let's say you had like a unit that basically kind of not on the objective because you don't want to be touching it, but you were going to pick it. Using 6, yeah, within 6. So yeah, I guess no, maybe now if you have to be outside of 6, it might be really hard to do that. I was thinking there's a way to like position units where you can block them from landing like more than 1 Giant on it. Either way, like just controlling that kind of tempo shift is pretty massive in some armies, especially slow armies. Holy God, that punishes them so much. I'm thinking of the Fire Slayers here, for example. Especially armies that like also want to be operating in an overlapping, like synergistic buffs, castle builds. Like that's also super punishing potentially for them because it just breaks up the buff, the synergy, or could potentially break, completely have to shift that castle. But it also maybe could be used as an advantage for a castle to just shift to another side, since you get to potentially block your opponent from landing on the other objective. So you just effectively keep putting your new units back on that position and you shift your castle. Yeah, it's interesting. I think To be honest, I can see this mechanic taking forever to resolve, which could be annoying, but it's interesting. It's cool, and it's any two objectives. It doesn't matter. Okay, so it doesn't matter that they're pairs. Okay, so each player score victory at the end of each turn. If they foul, score 5 victory points if you control at least one objective. Score 3 victory points if you control 2 or more. Score 2 points if you control more objectives. I like the fact that there's only one objective in the starting. Like basically, you're fighting over this center board one, and then you got these flank ones. This mission is designed to just really force people to like branch out. It doesn't force them to like play castle build at all very well, potentially. And it depends if you're the underdog or not. I feel like if you're the underdog, you can kind of use that to move your castle around. But I don't. This mission seems very interesting to resolve. There's also a lot of obscuring. In this mission, though, it seems like you can only really potentially make, because this is 11. I think maybe you could still make both objectives obscuring with each of the places of arcane power, but I don't think that's going to matter as much necessarily. You definitely can't make the center one obscuring, but there is a lot of obscuring around. Yeah, this is going to be a fun one where I think most games are going to revolve around like one of those, like, I'm going to play strong flank or strong center flank, and then maybe like a distraction unit on the other the flank. Teleportation is going to be huge in this mission for sure. Like mobility, yeah, this is a really high mobility army, a high mobility game. Cool, I like it. Rolling roots. If you are the underdog, you must use the Tangling Tendrils ability. Once per battle, start of the battle round, declare a pair of objectives to be the target for the rest of the game. Units for an enemy have strike last while they are content. Actually, this is the only mission I have played of this GHB. Okay. This was really interesting mission. It's actually, compared to the first previous to it, it's much simpler and much more straightforward. What I did like about this mission is how, like, basically it promotes both armies at castle and promotes also armies that are mobile. Because the way the scoring happens is if you get 5 victory points if you control any objective, 3 if you control any pairs of objectives, and then 2 if you control more objectives than your opponent. So the pairs are, you can see the pairs down the center here, and then 2 pairs on the sides on the no man's land. So if you're in a fast army, you can definitely play to the sides ones easy. If you're a castle build, you can play down to the center ones easy. So it kind of rewards like both archetype okay. And then the big advantage of this mission, in my opinion, is that the flow of operation of how the battle actually goes, because of I believe Master of the Path and then Scouting Forces, which was the 2 battle tactic path me and my opponent were playing, is actually interesting because Master of the Path, only for the last step, you are required to contest and control an objective without a unit that was set up that is holding your enemy's territory. So that's either a faction piece or one of these. They are places of arcane power. That's it, because all the other ones are not wholly within. So that's only one piece you can score. And then Scouting Forces having 3 objectives or 3 terrain features are in your opponent's territory is really limited, right? Because you only have these 3. So like, even though it felt like those battle tactics at the time when we were doing this test run was like the kind of the easiest for our armies, it became challenging looking at like the board state, and like it became very easy and apparent for a player to like, how do you stop your opponent from contesting these and claiming this? Now, the strike class mechanic underdog is very weird, mostly because firstly, there's a way for your opponent to just redeploy outside of that terrain if he really doesn't want to get the strike last negative. But the other reality is the problem with the strike last mechanic. It's not like strike first and then normal fighting, where it resets the sequence. Strike last is basically whoever gets to resolve strike last first is whoever's up in that sequence trigger. Meaning that, like, let's say you go, I go, and we both have strike last unit, because effectively if you're fighting over that objective, you're going to have strike last. And you went first in the normal activation. You don't go first on the strike last phase. It's me, your opponent, that goes first in the strike last phase. So it's weirdly not Like you have to like you have to do some mental modeling about how you're going to make sure in the strike class phase you still get the advantage, because my guess is what's going to happen is like the units you're trying to find on those strike class objectives are going to be fairly like tanky or good at killing things because they're trying to claim the points. So yeah, you're gonna have to really think about that one. It doesn't really matter so much if that's the only fights you're having is over the strike class objective, because it's just you go I go. But like if you have other sequences, it becomes a little weird. It can backfire on you. Yeah, like this mission was very, very clear cut and very good. Once again on the terrain, you can tell that how in our game, like the only objective they could turn off obscuring were the pairs on the outside. You couldn't really do like it on the other ones, so it's just like really minimizing that obscuring opportunity here. Cyclic shift. If you're the underdog, you can use the unpredictable evolution ability. Start once per battle round. Start of the battle round. Pick a pair of objectives to beat the target. Okay, pair this time. There's 2 pairs. The target objectives are no longer controlled by either player, if they were, and they cannot be controlled this battle round. Oh, interesting. So this just basically reduces the amount of objectives on the state. Simple enough. Each player... Oh, it's also not a must use for the underdog. It's a can. So, okay, good. Each player scores victory points as the end of the phase. This turn follows for 5 victory points if you control at least one objective. 3 for you. Okay, so like last mission. Okay, cool. Let's look at the state. Wow, there's a lot of arcane pieces down the center. Yeah, I can see that being kind of good. I mean, nobody gets to use them really on the first turn. Yeah, it's good for the second half of the game. Mission-wise, this looks pretty much very similar to the last one we played. We talked about, sorry, not played. Yeah, it's just okay. I like this one. This is kind of pseudo limited resources or scorched earth, whatever from last time. At least none of the objectives are actually deleted. You just get to, they get to come back later, and it's really up to the underdog to decide. So once again, this is another mission stack I like for that benefits like armies which are fast and also castle builds, because you can see the pairs on in each player's territory is effectively kind of like where a castle build wants to live. It's kind of in the triangle state, and then the fast armies can play all the edges at once, which still rewards them for having one flank, one pair. I don't know. It seems good to me. Like it. No big takeaway. Not very much confusion here. Surge of Slaughter. Okay, if you are the underdog, you can use the Defense of the Realm ability. Once per battle round, start of the battle round, Defense of the Realm, pick a pair of objective to be the target. For the rest of the battle, add 1 to the rank characters of friendly units. Melee weapons while they're contesting either of the target objective. I don't even look at the map yet, and I already hate that ability. Like, it's just too powerful. Like, okay, there's only 1 pair of objective, thank God. If there was like the other previous objective missions where there was 2 pairs, like this. No, there is 2 pairs. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Do not like this ability at all. Like, we just basically played an entire GHB where Honor Guard with the +1 rand on the charge was already kind of making the game a little too deadly. And then they're like, how about this? How about we give it to all of these units when it really matters? This really is a leg up. That's a massive damage increase leg up for underdogs. Granted, like, the pair objectives are kind of far from each other, but they're also the most important objectives for the purpose of scoring. Like, this really benefits fast armies more than anything, especially underdog fast armies, because you have the ability to reach the ones in the back, and this also affects only your units, not your opponent's units, like some of the other ones. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that one. Okay, the place arcane power, you can start. You can make the center objective obscuring. You can make also the other the obstacles here in the middle obscuring, it looks like. Okay, I mean, not a lot of opportunities to block shooting on the side ones, which is more, I think, most of the games is going to happen on the edge ones. There's still some obscuring, don't get me wrong, but it's just like it's not as bad as some of the other missions. Yeah, I don't like Defense of the Realm. I think that's too powerful for an underdog mechanic. It should have been like reducing OC of your opponent or something. Like, I'm of mind that like underdog mechanics should affect board state, not affect like killing ability. So yeah, that doesn't feel real good to me. Yeah, probably should have been like reduction of OC. Okay, not that OC is like super major most of the time, but it's just my opinion. Link ley lines. While you're the underdog, your army is rooted in the realm and full of life ability. Okay, so there's just 2 passive. That's seems good. All right, let's read the passive. Friendly units weapons have anti-manifestation +1 when while those units are contesting an objective that is both controlled by you on the linked ley line. Okay, we'll read that in a second. Full life. Friendly manifestations have strike first. Passive. Okay, well, Games Workshop already needs to fact that mission. Currently today, manifestations don't benefit from passives, so this just needs. Obviously, this is clearly indicated that like manifestation should have strike first, but rules is written. I do not think they actually work. that actually works on them. It's kind of funny, like. They'll have to be like that'll be the only passive I think that works on manifestation, because it'd be funny if they clarified that like rooted in the realm also works for your manifestation. I doubt it though. Okay, what is a linked ley line? A linked ley line is formed across the battlefield, long edge to long edge or short edge to long edge, while one player controls all the objectives in that line. Well, that's fucking interesting. Score 3 victory points if you control at least one objective, 3 if you control 2, 2 if you control any pairs, and then 2 if you control all the objectives in the ley line. Oh, this is kind of like focal points with like a benefit. I like this. This is good. I like the once again, 2 pairs, home, sides, benefits castle build versus not. Controlling all 3 in the center, or like. Let's just be honest. Controlling all 3 is usually a thing that's going to happen for the guy who goes top of 1, and then it's just been an equation of like, can your opponent, take all 3 by the end of the game? So let me see. Is there a possibility to score more than 10 this mission? If you control all objectives, you score 3 victory points if you control 1, 6 if you control 2. 2 for any pair, so it doesn't matter how many pairs, just any. No, if you control any pair, so each for each, so 10. And then 2 victory points if you control all of the objectives on linked ley line. There's 2 linked ley lines, so isn't that 14 points for primary? Okay, maybe I'm misunderstanding this. Interesting. So this mission might be more than 80 points at the end of the game. The odds of that happening is because you're getting tabled by your opponent, right? Like that's the only way this is happening. But that's a fairly big thing, because like having primaries which are worth more than 10 really makes battle tactics less important in that mission. Not that they're not important, it just makes them less important. Okay. Also, I've just noticed that like so far in these missions, only 2 missions. No, I guess there's 3 missions that have deployments that start touch each other. All the missions where basically there's a big no man's land down the middle. Or that like deployments don't touch the center of the table. The reason why I bring that up is because I play Fire Slayers, and that seems like a pretty massive penalty for, like, even like now I'm looking at it, like even the objectives are like, okay, yeah, even the maps which have like the touch terrain, like the objectives are on the no man's land. So like I guess the entire Fire Slayer like battle formation is pretty terrible now. It looks like, sorry, just like live editing or live realization. All right, Noxious Nexus. If you're the underdog, you can use the Caustic Sap ability. Once per battle round, start of the battle round. Caustic Sap. Declare, pick an objective. Each unit contesting is a target. Roll d3 for each target. On 2+, inflict the normal mortal wounds equal to the roll. If you picked a hardwood objective, which is only one of, roll d6 for each target, so it just does more damage. Got it. Okay, it's each, so it's friendly and or, but that's still pretty brutal. Alright, objectives cannot be controlled in the first battle round. Sounds good. Let's see. Some no scoring primaries. Score 5 victory points if you control the Oak and Brow objective, which is the one that's touching both terrain, both deployment territories. I like that they found a way to do weird, like, you know, the deployments were going at each other from the short edges, but they're like, yeah, let's just doing it this way. It's so much easier from like tournament management, by the way, because, you know, tables are right next to each other. Like, already loving that. Score 3 victory points if you control the non-root objective, which is the center one. Score victory 2 if you control the hardwood objectives. In addition, at the end of the battle, a player scores 10 victory points if they control the hardwood. Okay, so that just like fixes the kind of turn 1 issue of no scoring. Okay. So I guess the game just kind of like gravitates where you're basically kind of pushing down the center and then like slowly going to the side with potentially, you know, as the flow of the game. Okay, both armies start with a place arcane tire. They can tap. Yeah, this mission is terrible for shooting. Holy shit. You can't make the hardwood objective obscure. But at the same time, like, God. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not that bad. Because if you're the shooting army, you're not going to make one of those objectives obscured. Dude, what they should have done, that a mechanic is like, you should have been able to like remove the ability, like remove obscuring from the objective, and not the same turn, but like a next turn, like a next hero phase, right, or something. Because it's still on a 3-up for both, right? I don't know. It's just like whatever. It's maybe they just don't want shooting to exist anymore. Okay. Bountiful Equinox. If you're the underdog, you can use the Rejuvenate Bloom ability. Once per battle round, set the battle round. Heal 3 each unit, friendly and enemy contesting that target objective. It's a pretty like light advantage, not huge advantage. Each player scores victory points at the end of each of the turns as it follows. Score victory if you control one objective, score 3 victory points for 2 or more objectives, and you score 3 if you control at least 1 oaken brow, 1 gnarlroot, 1 hardwood. 1 oaken brow, so oh, I see. So if you basically control like all the objectives and you're touching your territory, or vice versa, you know. Okay. Place arcane powers on the side. Lots of obscuring down the middle, between the objectives. Cool. At least there's a reality. If you're basically touching the center objective, your shooting army, like, yeah, no, because I guess if they turn on, like they can turn off obscuring for all the corner ones. I don't know, that seems terrible. Anyway, very simple mission. I like it. One of the few missions where like there's only like 2 now, where basically territories cover the entire table, because the other one was Surge of Slaughter. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so the reason why that matters, that's of the Fire Slayer thing. There is battle tactics which require you to like mass scouting forces, which require you to basically contest 3 objective or 3 terrain features, and you're holding your opponent's territory more than 6 inches away than your territory, which in this mission means that basically only the 3 territory, like these 3 in the back, and whatever faction terrain they put maybe can fit. Yeah, it's pretty rough. Still, how was the other one? Yeah, this one's much easier. It seems like it's basically like 4 versus 3 options. Anyway, this mission is good. I like it. Liferoots. Oh, another mission with mostly territories covered. Oh, this is like old Battle for the Past, except there's only 2 objectives. Alright, so read this one. Curious. If you're the underdog, you can use the Life Begets Life ability. Life Begets Life. Pick a friendly unit that has all of its model in 1 inch of a terrain feature to be the target. Okay, interesting limit. Return 1 name. Oh, okay, that's pretty powerful for some armies. Holy shit. Vanguards. What else? Paladors. Like, there are a lot of armies that can benefit from this, like massively more than others, right? I dig it in the Gobapalooza style lists, like those units, like the King, the Hollow Blaze, whatever from Soul Blade, of Kato and his buddies, like those type of like units. Alright, each player scores 1 Liferoot point at the end of each there for each terrain feature that you control. Oh, this is a terrain control map. That's really cool, the mission. Each player scores a victory point at the end of each of their as follows. Score victory point if you control at least 1 objective. Score 3 victory points if you control both objectives. Control 2 victory if you have more Liferoot points than your opponent. This is a fairly low scoring one, because most of the time you're going to be scoring 7 versus 10. Once again, lots of obscuring. I don't think this is in range to make the objectives obscuring. Thank you. This is a great mission for Fire Slayers, I think, actually. Specifically the ones with +1 save in their territory. Okay. Good mission for Fire Slayers. That's what we wanted. Ooh, unique new deployment. Lifecycle. At the start of the second battle round, the underdog must use a Lifecycle ability. If there is no underdog, the players roll off and the winner must lose the Lifecycle ability. Pick either Oakenbrow or the Nauru objectives to be the primary objective at the start of each subsequent battle and next objective, and the cycle becomes a primary objective. And the objectives before and after the primary objective, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, basically, this is kind of like a pseudo-vice mechanic. I mean, it's pretty massive, right? It's a pretty massive, like, control. Like, being able to win. I mean, at least it's a dice off if there's a tie, so it's pretty okay for controlling, like, the primary. So how does the score? Score 4 victory points if you control at least one objective. Score 2 victory points if you control more objective than your opponent. Score 4 victory points if you control both the Oakenbrow and the Nauru. First battle round only. Okay, control the 2 side ones. Seems doable for the guy who goes first. Score 2 victory points if you control the primary objective. Score 1 victory points for each secondary objective that you control. Okay, so like it's having the primary is not that massive, but it's nice. Okay, I dig this. Yeah, this seems really good. A good mission. I like it. Not too complicated. I hate the fact there's more arcane places where I can power that, somebody can tap right at the start of the game. I mean, it's only going to be for these objective or that terrain feature over there, but it is what it is. Okay. Grasp of Thorns. This is the last mission. If you are the underdog, you can use the carnivorous flora. Carnivorous flora. So I was looking at the map. Carnivorous flora. Pick an objective to be grasping. Effect. Roll dice for each unit contesting every 3 plus every model on that unit as when the control zone of that objective is entangled for the rest of the battle round. Entangled models must stay within the control zone of the grasping objective for the rest of the battle round. While a unit that is in any entangled models, it cannot be removed from the battlefield by an ability that would allow it to set up enemies. It's not like that. It's cool. I could see it mattering in like late game. I don't think it matters less in early game because you're probably fighting over those objectives anyway. Each player scores victory points at the end of their turn. 5 victory points if you control one objective, 3 if you control 2, 2 if you control more. Okay, simple scoring. Interesting underdog mechanic for late game. Like being able to like prevent your opponent from like moving one of their remaining units to another objective or countercharging your stuff seems pretty powerful. Yeah, that seems pretty powerful. But that's it feels like a really late game mechanic, especially since most of the time your opponent can start the game on his objectives and just walk off them, during the game. So now it's just a question of like controlling the tempo and about how they can take your objective. Pretty cool. I dig it. Not too complicated, not too good. And this is one of the few missions where once again there's 3 out of 12. So 20%, 25% have territories that spam down the entire table. This is also one of the easier one for scouting force, right? Yeah, it definitely is. Okay. Yeah. This mission seems good. Oh no, there's one more. I lied. I read the tab of the card. I didn't see there was another one. If you are the underdog, Creep and Corruption. If you're the underdog, you can use a Pulsing Life Energy ability. Oh, is this another healing mechanic? Pick an objective you control and one other objective whenever you control or not. Draw a line between the centers of those objectives, then choose Propagation or Corruption. I'm already going to hate this. Apply the appropriate effect. Add 1 to casting rolls, chanting rolls, and banishment roll for each unit crossed by the lines for the rest of the turn, or if Corruption, inflict D3 mortal wounds for each passing. Yeah, I already hate that. It seems very powerful, but I guess like it's manageable since it's like lines across objectives. Like maybe there's a way to like minimize that or maximize it, I guess, for casting. To be honest, the +1 to banishment seems pretty good. Wow, they're all it's all casting, chanting, and banishment roll. Fuck Christ. Sorry, cursing. Yeah, do not dig this. Do not dig. Alright. Diggy hole. Score 5 victory points if you control at least one objective. Control 3 victory points if you control 2 or more objectives. Score 2 victory if you control more objectives than your opponent. Okay. Very simple scoring. Board state, map state. Let's look. Okay, so once again, one of those missions where you can basically make every objective obscuring by the game. So that sucks. Yeah, it feels like it's one of those missions where you basically kind of every 6 objective missions where like start like this, just basically fight over 4. Okay, I don't hate it. This is pretty okay for dwarves. Like anything with chanting rolls, modifiers is good. Especially since dwarves, the Firestarters are probably going to be an army that's underdog a lot in these missions. So hopefully that's their win rate modification system. Now that we've done with missions, and it's been, let me check time, 41-minute recording. I was going to do battle tactics, but I guess I will do them as a separate video because it is already pretty long. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you around.